Don in London, hello. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol. Could have been anything. I think I was just too frightened to go beyond alcohol, but it served its purpose over the years until it got me in addiction. And my behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things, collecting, you name it, trying to fix whatever was wrong inside me. And I never realised the gap inside me was there for a reason, to put good things into my life rather than try and blot out the horror of what I thought life might be. And, habit becomes something else after a while, a dependence maybe, and from dependence to addiction is wherever we cross the line. Some of us do, some people don't. It's not for me to judge anybody else, is what I've learned over the years. But for me, I know I became addicted and could not stop drinking. And that if I wasn't drinking, I was obsessing, fearful, and trying to fix myself in some other way. And on a daily basis now, it's not about fixing, it's not about self-will, it's not about self-obsession, it's not about ego, or putting on a brave face. It's about having the courage, faith and confidence to meet the day as it is, life on life's terms. And I've had a lot of help from family, community, medical people, and a fellowship called AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I never speak for AA, never can, never will, but I share a lot about how the fellowship of AA has helped me find balance on a daily basis. It's the voice of the many I have found which keeps me sober, and the wisdom of the many that has kept me sober, and not my own personal outlook or trying to align it with something I don't understand. So I'm free to make choices based on life as it is today. So the fellowship of AA, unique and authentic people always. They speak for themselves where they choose. And I choose to share experience, strength and hope for good reasons. First, it helps me reflect on where I am today. And second, to share a message of experience, strength and hope. And I also share from this book, Daily Reflections, which is an AA publication, a daily reflection on life and what it has to offer us and what we have to offer everybody else. So it's about integration and independent thinking and feeling, which allows us to make freedom, to have freedom of choice. So what is AA? I share here the AA preamble. You will hear if you go to a meeting of AA, and it slows me down into the moment of now to talk about recovery. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So we don't lose anything, we don't lose our identity, we remain unique, authentic people, sharing experience, strength and hope with what has worked for us. And from that, we find a place of calm, and we find information and wisdom from others. And I'm all for that. I'm for freedom, uniqueness, authenticity, freedom of choices. And that's what fellowship gives me. It gives me a new outlook every day on what I can and cannot do realistically in the moment of now. And as I said, I share from this book, Daily Reflections. And for December the 1st, it talks about suggested steps. And this book is all about the 12 steps and 12 traditions of AA. Suggestions, not rules or regulations. Suggested steps. Our 12th step, 12th month, also says that as a result of practicing all the steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps in our program. So by practicing the program, or the suggested 12 steps, we get a spiritual awakening. And the whole program is emotional and spiritual well-being and being sober. So what is spiritual to me? Well, it's the ability to cope with reality. Simple as that. Something I didn't do too well without taking the edge off in some way. Goes on to say, I remember my sponsor's answer when I told him that the steps were suggested. He replied that they are suggested in the same way that if you were to jump out of an aeroplane with a parachute, it is suggested that you will pull the ripcord to save your life. He pointed out that it was suggested I practice the 12 steps if I wanted to save my life, so I try to remember daily that I have a whole program of recovery based on all 12 of the suggested steps. And for me it was a parachute with a ripcord, and I pulled it, and the might sound weird really, but we are cantankerous people, and when we're angry and resentful at the world, we do the opposite often of what is good for us. And for many years I thought using my self-will, my independent thinking, rather than actually utilising all those emotions, emotional spiritual well-being is the foundation of what makes sober work. If I understood my feelings on a daily basis, how am I feeling, why, what can I do, I might have made a bit more progress a little bit more quickly. But we go in our own time when it comes to recovery. So emotionally I have a better understanding of now and how I'm feeling, and spiritually the ability to cope with reality. So contingent on my spiritual condition is the measure of my sobriety on a daily basis. And it's not just getting to bed without a drink at night, it's actually living and being a part of, being included in life on a daily basis, which makes the 12 steps fantastic suggestions. So when we talk about suggestions, yes, they are simply that, and it takes as much time as it takes to absorb how to live life in the moment of now. Reality, not history and not fantasy about the future. We still make plans, we still have ideas, we have feelings about how we would like to live our lives, and then we look to practicalities on a daily basis, and that's how the steps work. Practical action in the moment to improve our conscious contact with reality, and that's spiritual for me. However did we deviate so much from that? Well, humanity is humanity, and some of us need to find reality again as soon as possible. My time on this video is up, and I always share the serenity prayer at the end of it. It's the can and cannot do bit, the prayer to what I can do and what I cannot do. And it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or a higher power of your choosing, as long as it's understood that serenity is encompassed in acceptance. So when I say the serenity prayer any time of day, when I'm feeling agitated or disturbed, happily or sadly, the serenity prayer can bring me into balance quickly, rather than me trying to think my way back to reality. It's about my feelings these days. God, or to good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference on this December morning is just for today. Don in London, hello. It's December 1st, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. Addiction, whatever it is, substance. Mine was alcohol, could have been anything. My behaviour, complementary to my addiction. Workaholic, relationshipaholic, you name it, any sort of ism. And these days I'm living one day at a time in sobriety. And what helps me keep in sobriety? Family, friends, professionals, and a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for AA, it's full of unique, authentic people who can speak for themselves where they choose, and I choose to share my experience, strength and hope here of how the fellowship helps me keep sober. So, what of December? Well, 12 months in a year, and there are 12 action steps for individuals to stay sober in the AA program. It's part of the toolkit and in the toolkit there are meetings of the fellowship daily all over the place, 700 here in London. And at the beginning of each meeting there's an AA preamble shared, and it goes like this. It's a statement of intent. AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And when it's about helping others to achieve sobriety, it's how to be our unique, authentic selves, to make our life choices based on the best information we have in front of us for the day. Just for a day, that's all it is. And obviously those days get into weeks, months and years, depending on how things go. But you know, life can upset us, and sometimes we relapse or slip, and that can happen to anybody if we're not maintaining our overall sober condition. So how do we do that, those 12 steps? Well, there are 12 steps, 12 months, and I usually use this book, Daily Reflections, because each step is covered, one a month. And step 12 is quite a big one. It's all about sharing the message and not being a two-stepper, which is knowing the first step, which is powerless over alcohol and life being unmanageable when we drink, and forgetting the other ones in between and going straight to the 12th step, where we feel that we're able to just share a message of experience, strength and hope without doing the other bits. But if we forget the other 10 steps of the 12-step program, or don't apply ourselves to them, we can find ourselves in disarray and back in a muddle in no time. So I'm going to share from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions this morning, this book, and it has a summary of the 12th step, which is long enough in itself, but and then I want to share a passage from the 12th step, because it really does sort of help sort out what are these 12 steps. So in the 12 by 12, the summary of the 12th step goes like this. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And it goes on to say, and they're just short sentences, joy of living is the theme of the 12th step. Action is the key word. Giving that asks no reward. Love that has no price tag. What is spiritual awakening? A new state of consciousness and being is received as a free gift. Readiness to receive gift lies in practice of the 12 steps, the magnificent reality. Rewards of helping other alcoholics. Kinds of 12-step work, problems of 12-step work. What about the practice of all these principles in all our affairs? Monotony, pain, calamity turn to good use by practice of the steps. Difficulties into practice. Difficulties of practice. Two-stepping, switch to 12-stepping, and demonstrations of faith. Growing spirituality is the answer to our problems. Placing spiritual growth first. Domination and over-dependence. Putting our lives on a give-and-take basis, depending upon God or good conscience. Necessary to recovery of alcoholics. Practicing these principles in all our affairs. Domestic relations in AA. Outlook upon material matters changes, so do feelings about personal importance. Instincts restored to the true purpose, that's right-sizing. Understanding is key to right attitudes, right action key to good living. And my word, what an order to try and do all those things. And the gift is we don't have to try and do it all at once. But in the 12 by 12, this book, on page 110, it gives a summary of the 12 steps, which I always love to have a good look at again, because it's the best summary of the 12 steps I've ever found. And it goes like this. AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps in our program. So let's consider briefly what we have been trying to do up to this point. Step 1 showed us an amazing paradox. We found that we were totally unable to be rid of the alcohol obsession until we first admitted that we were powerless over it. In step 2 we saw that since we could not restore ourselves to sanity, some higher power must necessarily do so if we were to survive. Consequently, in step 3, we turned our will and our lives over to the care of God, or for some good conscience, as we understood him, and it's your own understanding, not mine. For the time being, we who were atheist or agnostic discovered that our own group of AA, our own group, or AA as a whole, would suffice as a higher power. Beginning with step 4, we commenced to search out the things in ourselves which had brought us to physical, moral and spiritual bankruptcy. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory. Looking at step 5, we decided that an inventory taken alone wouldn't be enough. We knew we had to quit the deadly business of living alone with our conflicts, and in honesty confide these to God, all good conscience, and another human being. At step 6, many of us balked, for the practical reason that we did not wish to have all our defects of character removed, because we still loved some of them too much. Yet we knew we had to make a settlement with the fundamental principle of step 6, which is to remove our defects of character. It won't go completely, I assure you. So we decided that while we still had some flaws of character that we could not yet relinquish, we ought nevertheless to quit our stubborn, rebellious hanging on to them. We said to ourselves, this I cannot do today, perhaps, but I can stop crying out, no, never. Then in step 7 we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings, such as he could or would under the conditions of the day we asked. In step 8 we continued our house cleaning, for we saw that we were not only in conflict with ourselves, but also with people and situations in the world in which we lived. We had to begin our piece, and so we listed the people we had harmed and became willing to set things right. We followed this up in step 9 by making direct amends to those concerned, except when it would injure them or other people. By this time at step 10 we had begun to get a basis for daily living, and we keenly realised that we would need to continue taking personal inventory, and that when we were in the wrong we ought to admit it promptly. In step 11 we saw that if a higher power had restored us to sanity and had enabled us to live with some peace of mind in a sorely troubled world, then such a higher power was worth knowing better by as direct contact as possible. The persistent use of meditation and prayer, we found, did open the channel, so that where there had been a trickle, there now was a river, which led to sure power and safe guidance from God, as we were increasingly better able to understand him. So practicing these principles, we had a spiritual awakening about which finally there was no question. Looking at those who were only beginning and still doubted themselves, the rest of us were able to see the change setting in. From great number of such experiences we would predict that the doubter who still claimed he hadn't got the spiritual angle, and who still considered his well-loved AA group the higher power, would presently love God and call him by name. And whether you believe in God or not is not the issue here. It's about how these steps work as principles. And thank goodness I actually found an understanding which I could make sense of, so that these 12 steps all work in a day for me. So step 12 is a big one. It's all about how to make it work in reality, live it. So I will start with the serenity prayer to God or good conscience, and it's the God of your understanding and how your good conscience works, and that acceptance of how things are today. So the serenity prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For me, it's always just for a day.